Hi, friend. Ashley here. Welcome to the Unlock Your Dream podcast. I'm here to guide you along your journey to unlocking your dreams to achieve the best life that you can imagine possible. From my journey in medicine as a PA and then some in the corporate world, I always still desired a little bit more out of life. It wasn't until I met some people who had seen their dreams realized that it occurred to me that maybe, just maybe, mine could come true too. Come along with me as we get to know some of these friends of mine and hear their stories of unlocking their dreams. Hey, friend, welcome back to the Unlock Your Dream podcast. This week, I get to have a dear friend of mine that I'm so grateful for you guys to hear her story. Allie Bagley is a wife, she's a mom, she's a daughter, she's an incredible friend, and she lives down in Charleston with me in South Carolina with her husband Andrew and their now 6 month daughter, Stallings. I cannot even believe she's 6 months. And day to day, she works as a yacht underwriter for a high net worth insurance company. So she's got the corporate gig, the mom gig, absolutely crushing it. But her most important role is at home with her family. And I know that you're going to get to hear that as part of her story today. And we actually met thanks to the work cycle because on Saturdays, she loves cycle, she loves coffee, she loves downtown and walking and boating. So, all things Allie Bagley, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you.
Thanks for having me, Ashley. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, what a dream. So, really, this one's going to be a little different for you guys. I know we typically roll entrepreneur style, and Allie and Andrew definitely have that in their back pocket too. But I really wanted Allie on this week to share her story with pregnancy, fertility, and some loss and overcoming, and really walking in victory because I know a lot of you guys, that is your dream to be a mom. And Allie and I have both been there and thankfully are in victory stories on the other side. But Allie, just wanted you to share anything that you want to share as vulnerable as you want to about pregnancy, loss, and any of that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started the process. I mean, I feel like you always just kind of start talking about it randomly one day, and then it becomes like a bigger dream. Then it just starts to snowball, and then you can't really imagine your life without thinking about it and like wanting to start a family. So Andrew and I kind of started the discussion probably in the beginning of 2022, and we got pregnant pretty quickly, which was an incredible blessing. And we I just like was always nervous that first go around. Like I with that pregnancy, I was just like very nervous. I just felt like something was off, and I was just trying to really pray through it, and it couldn't determine if it was like just my nerves or if something was really wrong. But we went in for like our 8-week appointment, and there was no heartbeat, which was absolutely devastating, and it just something that you really don't think would ever happen to you. Like you hear of it happening to other people and other moms, and your heart obviously goes out to them and what they're going through, but until you're in that room and like you hear that doctor and you see the ultrasound, like it it just feels so foreign. Um so that happened in March of 22. We were 8 weeks, 2 days pregnant. Um And it was just physically a lot. Obviously, like, nobody really talks about what you your body goes through, and, like, it's already preparing to become a mom, and then just kind of losing that part of you. It was very, very strange. Um, so anyways, we went through that experience, and unknowing to us, like, we had 8 months to process that little boy that we had, and, we got pregnant 8 months later, but during those 8 months, I was like, "Why is it taking so long?" Like, it was so easy early on for us, like, it was such a miracle, it just happened, and why is it taking so long? And I think looking back now, we just needed that time to really heal. I think we were just trying to, like, sweep everything under the rug and, like, move forward with the next step, and we just really needed to like sit with ourselves and just sit with God and sit with what happened. And so 8 months later, we got pregnant, and we got pregnant with Stallings, who is our daughter now, and she is here and healthy. And we had her in July of 23. She came at 34 weeks, so she came 6 weeks early and spent some time in the NICU. And that is a whole nother road we can go down if you want to, but, I also another foreign experience that you never think you'll go through, is just it's a community of people and moms that, you know, things happen differently than you thought they were gonna happen, but you're just met in the experience there too. So, but Stallings is great and such a little ham, and we love her so much.
Girl, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I know you mentioned just moms kind of coming around you. What was there for you? Obviously, I hear your faith and your story, but what was it for you that was helpful to just kind of wrap their arm around you and pull the pieces, sounds like, together? I just, you just hear like fragments of the story, and I can't imagine just your body, yes, with your hormones, but your heart and just the pieces that felt like probably your whole life was in around this time.
Okay, yeah. So that was I think the biggest hurdle that we had to get over was the fact that, like, I had other friends who had just gone through pregnancy and had just given
Mhm.
birth, and I just, like, couldn't really relate to their stories. Like, their stories were something that I had dreamt of, like, a natural birth, or I wanted an epidural, or I didn't, and, like, even being able to have that choice of,
Mhm.
I've prepared my body for this, I've prayed so much for this, and I just couldn't relate to anybody that had recently had a baby. And it wasn't until like I met a couple of friends, moms whose children were also in the NICU at that time, or one of my good friends, Maggie, she had a son who was born at 27 weeks 2 years ago, and she was also at the MUSC NICU and just kind of walked me through just kind of the stages of emotions. Like you're in shock at first, and then everything else kind of sets in, like, "Oh, I'm a mom." Like, it was here, I was pregnant one moment, and then all of a sudden I was a mom, and, um, so I think just having friends that have walked through it before, and even friends that didn't, just kind of coming alongside you and checking in on you and saying, like, "Hey, I'm here." A phone call, a text, "I love you," a heart, like, whatever it is, just letting them know that you're available if they need you was more than anything I could have ever needed. Um, I think that that was probably what helped the most was just having friends that I already had, but then they stepped in ways that like they didn't know they had those capabilities. I didn't know they had those capabilities, and
Mhm.
they just kind of showed up. And now I know that I definitely need to do that for friends moving forward because it was amazing.
That's incredible. Yeah, I can feel that from even the other side. It's like as a friend, watching some of your close people go through that, like you just love them and you feel it, but like you haven't been through it. And so it's just hard to really, you can empathize, but not sympathize. And so it's like just wanting to not say the wrong
Yeah.
thing, do the wrong thing, but also wanting to be like, hey, I'm here for you. And so that's great advice for anyone listening. I think for someone in your life is going to be in that place at some point, and it's good to know, just reach out. Even if you don't know what to say, it means more than radio silence, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or even just like it doesn't have to be specifically a NICU situation. I mean, it could be as different as like their birth was very different than your birth, and you might not know how to relate your stories, but I promise there's one common thread. Like you both have a common thread for your desire of motherhood or like what you wanted those first few weeks to look like. And so there's always something in common.
Yeah, that's so good. I feel like it is easy having not been through it to you obviously have your dream and whatever you're walking through, but then to start to compare. And I know just Ali and I share the same faith. And so the enemy, it's like just that comparison game that wants to tear people apart. But like you said, there's so much more that we have in common together just to walk through it really in community, which I think is so beautiful. And something else you said that I loved, it was just thinking through no matter your story, you're living someone's dream. And it's just whether like maybe someone wants to get pregnant or they would even wish to be in the NICU because they had a baby here. So I just love your framework of however your situation plays out, you're living someone's dream, maybe even your own, which is incredible all
Yeah.
around. Just the perspective that you have to share is so beautiful. I love that. Have you kind of along the way, did you have any books or therapy or people that kind of helped you walk through to get not only to heal your physical body, but just to kind of, like you said, you had to walk this emotional grief journey. rightly so, but it's easy, like you said, just to sweep it under, move to the next thing because no one else maybe has walked through it or told you how to do it. And no one gives you a roadmap for how to walk through any of
Right.
that stuff. So, what did you find that was helpful for you outside of maybe the friend groups to walk that journey?
Yeah. So thankfully, I had a counselor already in place that I had been seeing for a few years. And just, I knew like leading up to our pregnancy after our miscarriage, like I knew I needed constant communication with somebody and just to kind of like prepare my mind and my heart and my body
Mhm.
to, not be fearful the whole time. Cause I was, scared that like my fear was going to go through my body and my baby would be able to feel my fear. And it was just a
Yeah.
snowball from there. So I just already had somebody in contact and talked to them a couple of times, like while we were in the NICU. But really, the most pivotal and critical piece of like resource that I had was my husband and was Andrew. And he thankfully was able to take some time off from work. But I mean, we were together nonstop and 24/7. And it was, there were times where we would talk and times where we wouldn't talk. And we would just sit there for 2 hours and both be kind of like processing our own things. And, um, you know, obviously he's a man, I'm a woman, and we're going to have different struggles in the NICU. But I think that we just had a lot more in common than I think we thought we were going to have. He had some dreams that I didn't know were dreams of like him having skin to skin or him, telling me it was a boy or a girl or just things. But our conversations were really helpful and that was a really helpful tool. Um, as silly as it sounds, and social media can be such it can go either way. Like, it can be great, it can be harmful, it can be the best thing in the entire world, but the Dear NICU Mama, it was like an Instagram page that I followed, and every single thing they posted like, it has been written by a mom that has been in the NICU, but it was all of the words from my heart or my mind or my worries. Like it was just spot on every single time. And you could kind of click through the followers or people who had commented and see similar stories. And you definitely had to guard your heart a little bit because, not every story is the same. And there were some scary ones, but you could always reach out to them. And like people would reach out to me and see that I had commented on something. And so that was definitely helpful. You have to go into it carefully, but I think that that was also really helpful, and then just our church, like, they just rallied around us, and, yeah, so I would say my husband, sometimes social media, and our church were and my counselor were pivotal, so,
Love that. That's so good. I'll link that below for people, that Instagram account. That's amazing. Just to have, like you said, it's the teamship.
yes,
Even now we have a 8 month old. And like you said, just as husband and wife, the teamship that we've had to get to the level of communication. It's like your marriage really is forged in the fire through having a child. And I can't even imagine all that you guys went through with that experience. And so it's just cool. Like you said, part of your victory story on this side is it sounds like your marriage is even stronger and closer because of what you had to walk through. And it's not what you would have asked for, but on this side of it, you turned something that could have been really
absolutely.
negative into something really beautiful. I love that. Speaking of that, I know
Yeah,
you guys
yeah,
also have some other cool things that you turn into beautiful things. And with ANEW Charleston, and I'll link that for you guys too in Instagram. And I don't even really know what's going on with that lately, but I'd love to hear kind of the story behind that and then where you are with that right now.
yeah, so funny that you mention it, I really haven't thought of it in the past 6 months, but it is something that has been on my mind, like, the past week. Basically, what it is, it was kind of a little passion project that started during 2022 after we had the miscarriage. Um, Andrew and I, we would go to basically, it's like below the Battery, downtown Charleston, and you can kind of hop down on the sand, and there are little pieces of china that wash up like seashells or shark's teeth. Like they just come on shore, and they were dumped off of boats back in 16, 17, 1800s because they broke on their travels over from Europe or wherever they were coming from, and they would be taxed on them. And so they would just toss them overboard. And so their pieces of plates or really anything that they didn't want to be taxed on will wash up. And so Andrew and I loved going down and just like looking for them. And it would help our minds a lot too when we were processing everything that we had been through. And Andrew kept looking at me and he's like, we have these bags of pieces of china. Like, what are we going to do with them? And so I said, well, let's make some things. Like, let's just make something really beautiful out of these broken pieces that are also really beautiful. And then it just kind of paralleled with our story and our life. And so last Christmas, I made, like, it was a little collection that I launched, and I think there were 12 pieces, and it was just the china, and I hand matted them and I hand framed them and painted them and just had a little creative outlet, and launched them, and everything sold. And then the next week is when we got pregnant. So we like launched it, I sold everything, and then we got pregnant. So it was just really sweet, and it was just clear that that was what I was supposed to do, but I haven't done it in a year, so I'm thinking I need to bring it back.
You're a little busy. You're well going on.
Yeah, at some point we'll work on it again. But it was just so healing and soothing and something to do with your hands, and you're just focused on something else. And I am not an artist by any means or creative. I've never thought that I was creative, but it was just really helpful. So that was a little side gig that we did for a bit.
I love that. Even like you were talking about before, just healing. It's cool to like that is a possibly something for someone going through walking through fertility, infertility, loss, any of that. Like I love that you just gave your hand something to do. Like you said, you were just creative and let your mind play and just
Yes.
gave your hand something to do to distract you because it can be all consuming for sure. So that is super
Totally.
cool.
Totally.
I love that. It's just a healing.
Yeah. Yeah. That it can be so consuming.
That's
It's
awesome.
true.
Anything that you would say advice wise to someone who maybe is in the lot, like in the middle of the loss, knowing now that your beautiful victory story on this side that maybe catches this after maybe the first part of your story, just for hope or encouragement or, just to see that dream realized.
Yeah. I I think I heard this back when we were walking through trying to get pregnant again, and it was almost like you hear so many stories of people who are on the other side, like, "Oh my goodness, like, when I was in the season and it was so hard, and this is what I did, da, 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 da." But what is most important is, like, people who are sharing. Now, it might not be for everybody, and that is 1000% okay, but I think that there almost needs to be more people sharing while they're in it. I
Mm,
wish that I had done that. I definitely did it through ANEW and through there was a little bit of outward processing publicly, but I think just getting out there and sharing a struggle or a little bit of what you're walking through will help so many people. I was honestly surprised when I posted on Instagram like what we had encountered and walked through, how many random people reached out and said, "Oh my gosh, this just happened to me and what do I do?" I mean, people from like high school or middle school that you're randomly like still following, but people are watching and people are listening to you and you might not always know it. And I think just being gentle with how you share your story, but also just being a voice. Like one girl reached out and she said, "I don't know anybody. And unless you hadn't have said something, I wouldn't have known you had either. And I would have nobody." So I think up to your comfortability and if you're a more private person, by all means, keep it sacred to what you need to keep it sacred as.
mm,
But I think sharing when you're in the messy middle is also just as important.
that's so good.
So
Wow. I feel like that is like mic drop. That's amazing and just beautiful. Oh, so beautiful.
Thanks.
Instagram squares become just that place where we, everything's like very curated and filtered and all the things. But like you said, there is still a place for when you curate what you're associating with and what you're listening to and putting in your eyes and ears, it can be a really incredible place to truly connect people. And, you need
Yeah.
them too sometimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just being real, like the reality behind it. Like that is what I feel like Instagram started as was just like this reality of like posting a random picture of what you're eating or whatever corny things we used to post. But that was like where we were at that time and what we were doing. And I think now it's turned into, what was the best part of my last week? That's what I'm going to post about. And you don't necessarily see, oh my gosh, my Wednesday was the worst Wednesday I've ever had. And, I was pulling my hair out and my husband and I weren't on the same page. But, those are, you might not share that publicly all the time, but I think you can also give a little caveat of, it's not as curated as it always will look.
Yeah, totally. That's so good. I love that. Um, any other things you want to share? Anything going on with you guys? Any big dreams and goals for the year? Just obviously you have a 6-month-old, so you guys are just in it and in the most fun part, in my opinion. It's such a fun age.
Yeah, I think well, one, I know for me is I can almost be like too intense about it, but I'm like just trying to be so present because she literally changes every day. Like every single day, she's learning something new, she's growing a different way. And, you can't be more present than being present. So I'm just trying to give myself grace with watching her grow and watching her meet these milestones or doing whatever, like rolling over, like those are all amazing things. Um, but just trying to like take it down a notch and just say like it's okay if I missed one milestone one day. Like I had to work or I needed to go on that date with my husband. So I
Mm,
might have missed her doing something super cute. So I think my dream is just learning the balance of motherhood a little bit more and just really getting into a routine with Andrew of, bringing back in like the fun and like the dating and, the excitement of like, oh my gosh, like we have a sitter for the night. What should we do? So I think that that's kind of my dream for the year is just integrating more play, like play with Stallings, play with Andrew, play all around. And then Andrew, his dream, he is actually starting his own physical therapy business. So that is a big change for us. He has been working at an amazing physical therapy clinic for the past year and a half in Mount Pleasant and just kind of got the nudge while we were in the NICU, post NICU, that, he thinks he could do it on his own and he could really help some clients that he knows. And so it's called Alter Performance and Physical Therapy. And he will be operating out of the cigar factory downtown and he locked in a space there. And he is just he's really amazed me with everything that he's kind of put into motion. And this has always been his dream to start his own business. And now my role is to just support him and I heard this really really great metaphor the other day and it was like, sometimes with couples there's one that's the kite and there's one that's the string, and it's not that the string is like holding down the kite from going anywhere, like but you can't have the kite without the string. Like the kite will fly away. And I think he is definitely a kite. He's a dreamer. He goes big. He thinks long term, big case scenarios. And I'm sometimes a little bit more realistic of like, who do we need to call tomorrow in order to make that happen? So I think we balance each other out well and just learning how to be a praying wife, a supportive wife, and just someone that can really walk beside him as he tackles that dream this year.
that's
So,
amazing. We'll link that below too, so you guys can find amazing physical therapy in Charleston. That is incredible. I love, love, love the play aspect of it. We need to adopt that in our family too. It's amazing that you're balancing
yeah,
working mom, wife, and I love that you guys have brought date night back. I'm sure a lot of marriages that go through the NICU, they come out on the other side very strained. And I love that you guys are like, no, we're going to get the sitter. We're going to invest in us. And I think it's so hard. I totally can relate to
totally.
do. You're just afraid that you're going to miss any second of anything, but props to you guys.
Yes.
I'm inspired by you guys. We need to be better about that. So good.
Well, it's and everybody's timeline is so different, and like what you're comfortable with and when you're comfortable with it. And but yeah, I've definitely been inspired by other people, other friends that are doing it. So I'm kind of tagging on with them, and you can tag along too.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I mean, that's kind of what I hear like throughout the theme of this.
Yes.
There's so much power in community, no matter the victory, struggle, all the things. It's been so cool to walk with you guys and be on this side with y'all. And y'all are just such a power couple. And I'm really excited to see PT grow in Charleston and Stallings grow. And then whatever God has for you guys in 2024, I just know it's going to be a really good year. So good. Oh, I love it. Well,
Actually,
thank you,
you're the
friend,
sweetest.
so much
Thank
for
you.
your time away from your baby and your husband to share your story. And I just believe that this is going to
Yes.
get into the right hands. Thank you guys for listening. Share this with your friends that maybe just need a little encouragement, or if you're in the middle of it too, leave us a comment. I'll put in here kind of where you can find Allie, where you can find me. Stay connected. Know you're not alone, and know there's someone out there with me too. But again, thank you for being here, Allie, today. Thank you guys for listening this week. And feel free to leave us a comment and come back to listen to
All
Unlock Your
right.
Dream podcast. Have a great day.
Okay, friend, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Feel free to share this podcast with another friend who it may inspire. Leave a review to possibly be featured at the beginning of another episode, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the stories that could help unlock your dream for you.